final walkthrough nightmares, and other emergencies. You're listening to the Home Seller's Advantage. I'm Aaron Zapata, your co-host.
And I'm Todd Anderson, your other co-host. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Seller's Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253 today.
That's right. You know, this is not fire. Like, well, yeah. If you looked at the thumbnail on our YouTube channel, you'll see that we do have fire in the background. There are many emergencies that happen during an escrow, but we're gonna cover some of those stories today. But before we do that, I just wanted to quick remind everybody that if you are in distress right now and you need to sell your Southern California home, Todd and I would like to talk to you. Give us a call at our 800 number at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-BALD. We've had a number of people reach out to us, and we are finding that people are stressed financially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're stressed over credit card payments. They've already drawn HELOCs. They got a lot of stuff going on, maybe a job loss, and selling the home is what is needed. And we just want to reach out, and we want you to reach out to us. The best way to do that is through our 800 number. If we can be of assistance, we certainly will. But we haven't said that in a while, so I thought I'd just say that again.
You know, I'm stressed out because I went to Subway the other day.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to Subway in a long time.
Eat fresh.
And it costed me $14 for a foot long. It used to be like $6 or $7 for a foot long.
$5 foot long. It used to be the $5 foot long song.
So talk about stress. I mean, the cost of everything, the cost of living has gone up all across.
$1.50 or $1.25 per inch or $1.10 per inch. Yeah, wow.
That's right.
Wow.
Enjoy every inch, every bite.
Yeah, we eat at Jersey Mike's because they have a gluten-free bread.
Mm-hmm.
And my family and I are gluten-free.
Get it Mike's style?
No, not Mike's style, but I think it's like $17 for their giant.
Yeah.
But their giant's bigger than their foot long. Their giant
and they've got great subs.
They do. So,
the best.
Todd and I talk about food a lot when we're not on microphone, where we can eat all that kind of fun stuff. So we had great Indian food today, by the way.
That's the favorite conversation. Where do you want to go for lunch?
Yeah, let's go.
We had Indian today.
We did. It was super good. So anyways, let's get back on topic here. My name's Aaron Zapata. I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Todd Anderson. And I realize you really don't care what we ate for lunch today.
That's right.
Let's get back on track.
That's right. We're the Bald Brothers team here at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker. And we're excited to just bring you content that is very current. And frankly, we get this stuff from our own transactions.
Yeah.
Because we're in the trenches. We're halfway through the year. We've closed over 20 transactions. We are seeing a lot of different things come up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we believe that we are bringing you relevant, timely information so that you as a homeowner can make an intelligently informed decision. And then you can decide what you need to do.
Yep.
And if you decide to sell, we'd love to sell your house for you. So let's get right into the topic today. Final walkthrough. First of all, Todd, tell us what a final walkthrough is.
A final walkthrough is a walkthrough that you do finally at the end of the transaction before you close. Oh, it is really just like it sounds. So it is just about the very last, it's pretty much the last thing that happens, the last access that the buyer has to the property before closing escrow. And there's a very real reason for that. The buyer needs to be able to, number one, make sure that the property is in the same condition as when he or she made the purchase agreement. That's number one, because it does happen where all of a sudden, we had a situation several years ago where the seller, without telling us, had decided to refloor the whole house, which changed the nature of the home. Now, fortunately, that turned out okay, but you want to make sure the home is in the same condition, that there's no changes, and a wall hasn't been busted out or a chair has moved or revealed a gaping hole in the floor. So that sort of thing. The second thing is, if there have been negotiated repairs that are to be done on the home, it's the opportunity that the buyer has to verify that those repairs have been made.
We're going to trust, but verify.
That's right. Now, there's a third reason for it, and this oftentimes happens, which is a lot of fun. The buyers may be preparing furniture and whatever they're going to do, and they may want to make some measurements, or sometimes, occasionally, if it's an amicable transaction, the seller may say, hey, I want to meet them and I want to show them things. I want to show them how to operate the pool or the alarm system or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of a third type of reason.
Sure.
But primarily it's reasons number 1 and 2 to verify the property is in the proper condition so we can properly close.
And here's what it's not. It's not a contingency.
Yeah. It's not a contingency.
By this point in the transaction, if you're using a California purchase agreement, you've already removed all your contingencies. That's typically done around day 17 in a transaction. And so this is just, like Todd said, that opportunity to come in and verify and to look around and to make sure nothing's, gone wrong.
Yeah.
Now, just recently, like this week and last week,
yeah,
we went to the final walkthrough.
And we were actually representing the buyer
in
on
this case,
one.
yes.
Now, this is home sellers' advantage. We work with predominantly sellers, but this affects you as a home seller in this particular scenario to be aware of.
So listen in, because we're going to give you the buyer's viewpoint.
Yes.
When something like this happens.
Our perspective.
Okay. So the buyer walks in with me, and so we get there, and immediately, as soon as we open the front door, we notice something's different.
Well, actually, backing up, the seller was trying to stall and not allow the final walkthrough to happen when it was supposed to be scheduled. They wanted to push it back.
We had scheduled it, and they asked to push it back. But we didn't push it back. We needed to do it. We showed up, and reluctantly they let us in, and immediately we know something's not right. And the something that wasn't right was that there's a giant hole in the kitchen ceiling. And there is
that wasn't there before, was it?
And there's a cam light that is dangling.
Yeah.
And I thought, are they replacing a ceiling fan that I can't remember? No. What is that? And the entire ceiling was stained and cut back, and the paint had been peeled off because they had a water leak. A water leak from an upstairs air conditioning unit from inside the townhome. And it was leaking down into the ceiling. And they were in the process of repairing it. And fixing it. But this brings up a question.
Yeah.
What do we do, and what should have been done? So Todd and I have had quite a few days to think about this. We've talked with our buyers multiple times. And ultimately it comes to this. As a home seller, if something happens in your home while you're in escrow that is very significant, such as was happening in this case.
We call it a material fact.
Material fact, meaning that something materially has changed. And we're not talking about what kind of materials used on the walls. It's just a definition of an action or something that is big enough to change a buyer's mind. Okay, so obviously a huge water leak in the middle of a transaction is a big deal.
Yeah.
It can affect a lot of different things. It can be an insurance claim. It can be a number of different things. But number one, it should have been told to us.
Yes.
As the buyer's agent that this was happening.
Disclose.
Yes.
When in doubt, disclose.
When in doubt, disclose. So if you have something go wrong, you have a slab leak, or somebody breaks a window, or, there's a little fire in the attic and we put it out, but nothing happened. No, everything that significantly changes the material issues of the property, you have to disclose it.
You are required to do so.
And they did not.
And they did not in this case. And we can't say for certain that they were not going to, but it does appear that the reason they were trying to push off the final walkthrough is they wanted to make the repairs so we could see it and never be the wiser.
And so if failure to disclose, not only is it a breach of your duty as a seller to be honest and forthright, it also creates the vacuum. Where a buyer is going to immediately go to, why didn't they tell me? What are they trying to hide? What else don't we know?
Exactly.
And it has the potential to completely destroy the transaction.
Yeah, undermine the trust.
And if something big happens in your home, like a water leak or a slab leak or a sewer malfunction and everything floods, like those are reasons a buyer can legitimately say, you know what, this changes our mind because it's a material change.
Yeah.
And you're going to go talk to an attorney because we're not legal. We're not attorneys here. We're not giving you legal advice. But we will tell you that a material change of transactional information can open that contingency door, and that buyer can change their mind.
Yeah.
So a lot of times sellers are afraid. Well, if I tell them that our house flooded and we replaced everything, don't you think they're going to back out? They might. They might. But if they find out afterwards, then you might get sued.
Yeah. It's a bigger problem.
Bigger issue. Thankfully, we did find out.
Yeah.
And what has happened, transpires, in case you want to know, is that They have the buyers proceeded to move forward.
Yeah.
Because
because we were able to make some sort of an arrangement. And by the way, just to take a step back, we can hold up closing.
Well, we're going to talk remedies later.
Okay. We'll talk about. So what we ended up doing was we noted on the walkthrough form that these were the items that were observed. It was the flood, the hole in the ceiling. There was also some damage to a downstairs bathroom, the hardwood flooring that needs to be repaired. And so we specified that those items need to be repaired to the buyer's satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that, now this was going to be a home warranty claim. And because of the nature of home warranties and the length sometimes it takes for them to actually do the service call, this threatened to basically, if we were to wait for that, it could have pushed the closing of escrow back considerably, which was not to the buyer or to the seller's desire. And so what we did is they agreed that the seller would go ahead and make the home warranty claim, that it would be scheduled, the service call would be scheduled, and that repair would be done after the close of escrow.
We believe that the seller had good intentions.
Yeah.
You know, we liked the way the transaction was going. Everybody's being very upright. I think they were just nervous.
Yeah, we're not trying to disparage the seller in this case, but there is something that if you are selling, you need to be aware of certain responsibilities that you have, and that seller may not have entirely been aware. We didn't represent the seller, so we don't know exactly what sort of conversations happened between the seller and the agent.
And so there's a couple of things that are remedies when it comes to final walkthrough issues. And let me, we'll just go through them. We've seen a number of things happen over the years. One of them is that everybody decides to close, but do a seller holdback for a certain amount of money that is going to stay in escrow until whatever needs to be resolved is resolved. And everybody agrees to it in writing and says, hey, we're going to withhold $5,000 or $10,000 or $30,000, whatever, in escrow from the seller's proceeds. And then once certain items have taken place, certain things are completed, then that money will be released back to the seller. So that's one thing, is a holdback. Yeah,
and just to add to what Aaron's saying there, with a seller holdback, it can potentially require things to change with the lender, because if the verbiage is such that it says there's going to be holdback based off of repairs to the home, that may change the underwriting for the loan. It might have to go back to underwriting, be reapproved based off of that new information. Yeah. So with a cash deal, it's a lot easier. With a conventional loan or an FHA loan, VA loan, you may have to go through that extra process with underwriting.
Yeah. And just like we're not giving legal advice, we're not giving financial advice. Go talk to your lender.
Yeah.
So this other thing that can be done is that the escrow closing itself can be just delayed until everything is rectified.
Yeah.
And that is a choice, and often one that happens because then the buyer is comfortable closing once everything has been resolved.
And that one probably is the one with the least amount of paperwork.
Right. It just, an extension of time addendum, and we close later.
Yep.
It may be inconvenient, but allows everybody else to do. You can go down this legal road where a buyer can choose to close and then take legal action for failure to disclose. I mean, there's a number of different things that happen there. But our recommendation when we are in the middle of a transaction, whether it's at the final walkthrough or whether it's 4 days in, if something happens to that property that would cause the buyer a pause and reevaluation, you need to bring that to the table. We are responsible for a fair and honest dealings with each other.
That's right.
So other things that we've seen happen is, you might have a backup in the sewer, and all of a sudden all your toilets are overflowing, and that didn't happen before. And it's never happened before, but now it happened, right? And all of a sudden you have to disclose that. Perhaps you are selling your home, and all of a sudden it's the rainy season. And although you have not had any leaks in the roof,
all of a sudden
you're in escrow.
Never fails.
And you have a leak in the roof.
Yeah.
Do you have to? Yes, you have to disclose it and repair it.
Yeah. And we had one of those situations recently with a different transaction where I can't remember, it was a dishwasher or something broke down, and the sellers did the right thing, and they disclosed it, and then they repaired it.
That's right.
So
I believe it was a broken dishwasher.
Yeah.
It had been working. It was working at the inspection. It stopped working. Hey, what should we do? You should replace it because it was working when they were buying it,
Yeah.
and now it's not. And so that was one situation. The other situation where remedy here is that everybody agrees just to a reduced price or a credit immediately.
Yeah.
And this would require going back to the lender.
Yeah, that once again, that would require some.
Yeah.
It's not that it can't be done. It's just an extra step. It might require extra few days.
It could be a last minute thing where you say, hey, we're going to reduce the price by $10,000 or we're going to ask for a $10,000 credit. And everybody says, okay, let's do it. And that has to go back. It has to be reflected in the loan documents because loan fraud is considered when there are things happening that the lender doesn't know about, okay, that are material like this. And so the lender wants to know they're lending on a good house. The lender wants to know that there's a completion of events, okay? So you have to make sure that you keep your lender involved, you keep your escrow company involved, and you keep your buyer and seller involved. It just, everybody's got to be on the same page.
That's right.
And an analogy that Todd and I have used in the past is that of a football team, in that we're not actually against each other when we're in a transaction. Some agents approach an escrow like offense and defense, and you've got to battle out the whole way.
Yeah,
and there's gonna be a winner at the end of the day. And someone's gonna score and someone's gonna lose, and Todd and I don't take that mentality. We believe that this is a win-win event, and we are all playing on the same team, and that the opponent to a successful transaction is actually something entirely out of our realm. Buyers and sellers work different plays, we have different positions, and we're all going towards the end zone together.
Yeah. In this case, the opponent was that nasty water leak.
It was, yeah. And there are enough things in the world and in our properties that cause this opposition that we don't even have to, fabricate. It's just there.
Both parties want the same thing.
That's
the
right.
seller wants to sell their home. The buyer wants to buy the home. It's
That's right.
how you get the ball to the end zone. So you could say, hey, we represent the offense. They represent the defense, but we're trying to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think of it more of like a quarterback and a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And you have, the different coaches all on the same team. We're all working together.
That's right.
And when you have that kind of unity and agreement of a goal as a team and as both buyers and sellers, then you realize your enemy's not the other person in the transaction.
Yeah.
This water leak is the issue. It's not the seller. It's not the buyer. It's not the agents. It's the water leak. And how do we resolve this together? Because very rarely does a buyer want to back out.
Yeah.
Very rarely does the seller want to back out.
They're invested. They've gotten to that stage of the game. They've spent money on their inspections and they've made plans, and the seller has done the same thing. Yeah.
So we have to run a different play, but we're all going in the same direction.
That's right.
So what other emergencies?
Let's see.
The house gets totally destroyed.
Yep.
I'm licensed in Tennessee. One of our listings had a tornado come through.
Yeah.
And it ripped off a wall of the house. Thankfully, the owners were not there, and neither was their baby. It was a very miraculous thing that they had moved out just a few days prior. But that home had to be taken off the market.
Yeah.
Because it literally was not there.
Yeah.
And it was rebuilt and sold like 18 months later.
Someone may be saying, well, what if I removed all contingencies? Do I lose that opening deposit? No, in such a case, no. You would get that back because the material fact is there. That is a material fact, is it not?
It is. It is. There could be a fire.
Yeah.
There could be an earthquake, and there's earthquake damage. There could be a death in the home that wasn't there prior.
Oh yeah.
One or two of the parties that are authorized to sign, husband and wife, both own the properties together. One of them dies in the process of escrow, and now we have an issue.
Yeah.
Because the house wasn't properly in a trust or whatever. That can happen.
And by the way, I should interject that most of these final walkthroughs, the vast majority of them are extremely boring. It's basically a signed piece of paper that is normally blank. We'd like to see blank signed walkthroughs, which means there's nothing to report.
Right.
99% of them come back there. It's really just a matter of procedure.
99.
I mean, don't quote me on. Well, I guess you can quote me on that, but how do you fact check that? I guess we have to look back at all of our transactions. But really, it's very rare. But this is the reason, because on the off chance that something happens, this is the opportunity to catch it before closing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And in that idea that it's just that last minute thing, it is often boring.
Mm-hmm.
People wonder, who even needs to show up.
Yeah.
The buyer's agent
Mm-hmm.
and the buyer should do the walkthrough.
Yep. The seller does not need to be there.
And the seller does not need to be moved out.
Yeah.
The seller doesn't
right.
need to be totally packed.
That's actually a really good point, because we do get this question. Oh, they're doing the final walkthrough, but I've got boxes everywhere. And that's fine, because you know what? If they're doing the final walkthrough and they see that you've got a mess of boxes, it's confirmation that you are in fact moving.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
So don't worry. This is different. The final walkthrough is different from selling your home. The home is already, you're about to close. This is just so the purpose is not to try to get them to buy the home. So don't worry about that. But I'm glad you brought that up. That is a big question we get quite often for that final walkthrough.
It is. And so we know that there are lots of different situations. We could certainly not name them all, but that final walkthrough, essential, should happen on every deal. Yep. Should not be waived. Do some buyers waive it? Some do.
You can't. There is a spot on the form.
Some do.
Where you can check off that the buyer waives their right to do a final walkthrough.
Yep.
And that's
and maybe it's because they're buying a total teardown and they don't care what it looks like.
That is the one case where oftentimes that happens.
Sometimes they waive the inspection. Mm-hmm. There's no request for repairs.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. If buyers ask, well, I didn't request anything for repairs, why would I do a final walkthrough?
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to point number one.
Yep.
We got to make sure the house hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are issues that you might come up with that might happen to you. The obstacles on the journey to successful closing. Mm-hmm. But we want to be there to walk you through them, because if you are thinking about selling your home, if you have a project you're working on, you need some advice, you're prepping your home for sale maybe a year from now, and you want to know what you should do. What color should you paint the wall? We would be more than happy to come alongside you and start to advise you in the home selling process, because at the end of the day, we want to give you the home seller's advantage.
That's right.
That's the name of our show.
That's the name of our show. With the information, you have the advantage.
That's right. And we are the Bald Brothers, and we appreciate your time today. We would like to invite you to like, subscribe, and to share this episode if you found it helpful.
Yep.
And listen to the little legal disclosure at the end of this.
It's such a great legal disclosure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And all of our contact information is going to be playing in just a moment. You'll hear all of that. You can go to our website, baldbrothers.tv as well. And we'd love to hear from you.
We'll talk to you soon. God bless. Thanks for listening to the Home Seller's Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.